Devin Duvernay in, Jamal Agnew out. Good night, my sweet prince. I'll always remember you. Welcome, everybody, to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jerry, and I'm representing the 904 from the 602. And today, we are talking about another move that the Jaguars just made a few hours ago, signing from the Baltimore Ravens wide receiver and return man, Devin Duvernay. There's been a heavy emphasis for the Jaguars this offseason on special teams, re-signing Daniel Thomas, maybe the best gunner in football, attempt to get Will Lutz. We had him for like an hour, and now he's back in Denver. And now Devin Duvernay with a 2-year deal. I like this move a lot if I'm in Jacksonville. I really like this move to solidify the special teams unit. Devin Duvernay, one of the best return men in football. He can be used on occasion in the passing game as well, but he really shines as a return man. That's why the Jaguars got him. 2021 and 2022, he made the Pro Bowl. 2021, he was an AP first-team All-Pro. He was fourth in yards per punt return last season, 12.6, and he led the NFL in that category in 2021. Also has 2 seasons where he was inside the top 6 in the NFL in yards per kick return. We'll see if kick returns actually mean anything in 2024 based on if they change the rules or not. But either way, Devin Duvernay, now a Jaguar, the new return man going forward. And what this means is that Jamal Agnew is out. Jamal Agnew, a free agent, and he will not be coming back barring anything absolutely crazy. After 3 seasons in Jacksonville, Jamal Agnew's time is done with this move. He was brought on as a special teams man, a return man. Now Devin Duvernay taking over that spot. He's younger and he's better. Now look, I love Jamal Agnew. I love that man. 39 is always going to hold a place in my heart. But it was the right move to move on from Agnew. I didn't expect him back. I don't think a lot of Jags fans expected him back. And it's the right move. Way too many injuries with Agnew. He was placed on IR at one point. Then he came back. Had a lower leg fracture in the Panthers game in Week 17. We don't know what his recovery is like from that, how he's going to recover from that, especially because he is a veteran who is going to be on the wrong side of 30 very, very soon. On top of that, Devin Duvernay, not a lot of ball security issues, just 2 fumbles in 4 years. Jamal Agnew, I was always a bit worried when he had the ball. I was always a bit worried. There were some major ball security issues. You think, just to name a few, the Houston game this past season ended the first half. Granted, that game was terrible, the first of the 2 Texan games. The second game was great. The second game in Houston was phenomenal. One of the best games of the season. The first game, absolutely terrible. Jags were down 14-0 in the first half. They were driving, looking to get something going before the half gets some momentum. Lawrence completes a pass to Agnew. He then fumbles the ball. Texans recover. They make it a 3-score game for the half. They pretty much end it right then and there. Also, of course, the Kansas City divisional round game. You think after the Trevor Lawrence Elway copter play, you think, okay, maybe the Jags have a shot. If they can score here, they're going to maybe win the game, go to the AFC Championship. Lawrence passes it to Agnew. Agnew fumbles at the goal line. It doesn't work out. So ball security issues that don't seem to be there with Duvernay, but they were there with Agnew. Having said that, there's no hard feelings whatsoever toward Agnew. 3 seasons in Jacksonville, and I will remember him very fondly. Jamal Agnew, one of the most clutch players on a return standpoint, because anytime you needed a big return to get some momentum, to get a spark, he would do that. Obviously, the Arizona game. He set a record that will never be broken, the 109-yard kick 6 in 2021, the end of the first half, after Matt Prater tried that long field goal. The only bright spot from that 2021 season, if we're being honest, was that kick return by Agnew at the end of the first half of that game. You also had the Tennessee game. Jags down 10-0. Week 18, division on the line. Need a spark? He gives you it. Big return sets the Jags up nicely. You think this past season, Week 1, the Colts game. Jags were really struggling to get anything going. They had a really rough stretch in the second half with the Tank Bigsby errors, and the Colts had the lead, and you thought, okay, you need a big return by Agnew on this punt. Fields it inside zone 5, gets it past midfield. Jags are in good field position, and the Jags eventually take the lead and win that game. Jamal Agnew, very good Jaguar for a long time, but considering some of the issues he's had, especially on the injury side, it was the right move to move on from Agnew and not try and re-sign him in free agency. So what does this mean for the Jags going forward? Obviously, Devin Duvernay is making the roster, which means your receiving unit is pretty solidified right now. Honestly, the receiving unit might be pretty solidified. You figure the Jags will go into the season carrying 5 receivers on the 53. That seems to be what Doug Peterson, Trent Baalke like to do. What most teams like to do. They keep 5 receivers on the 53. Obviously, Christian Kirk is one of them. Parker Washington is another one. Zay Jones or Gabe Davis, you figure Gabe Davis definitely, you gave him a 3 or $39 million contract. You're keeping Gabe Davis. The question is, do you keep Zay Jones? Is he a cap cut? He could very well be. I did a video on Gabe Davis and Zay Jones as a potential cap cut. Go check that out if you haven't already. But you figure at least one of them is making the roster. Obviously, Duvernay is making the roster. Now you need a wide receiver one. Calvin Ridley, you want to bring him back, or you could trade up in the first round, get a guy like Rome, and make a move in the first round to get your wide receiver one. Obviously, I'd be very shocked if Kirk, Washington, Davis, Jones, Duvernay, that's your 5 going into the season. That seems like a massive downgrade from last year because you don't have that wide receiver one, that big body on the outside that can win jump balls and go deep. But it seems like the Jags will keep 5 receivers, and whoever the final receiver is will be the wide receiver one, whether it's a draft pick or whether it's Calvin Ridley. But this probably rules out the possibility of the Jaguars drafting a wide receiver on day 3 at the very least. I'd be very surprised if they do that because that receiver will not make the roster. That receiver will not make the team unless Parker Washington's on the bubble for some reason. I'd be very surprised if he is. But unless Parker Washington's on the bubble or unless there's an injury that happens, that wide receiver's not making the team. You're just wasting a draft pick that way. So the receiving unit seems pretty solidified. On top of that, what this means for Devin Duvernay, it's very good for Parker Washington in terms of expanding his role in the offense. You figure, okay, Agnew's not coming back. We all probably knew that, considering the injuries, considering the issues he's had. But you figured, okay, Parker Washington was pretty decent as a return man last year. Not the best. He had a lot of over-the-shoulder catches that made me gasp a little bit, but he was decent. He had some moves as a return man. But obviously, you're not going to have him as a return man if he's going to play a big part in the offense. You never have a big-time wide receiver. You never have a starter as a return man for injury reasons, for stamina-related reasons, and just positional reasons. It's a lot to take in. You have a special teams player doing that most of the time. Parker Washington, probably not going to be the return man. He might be the return man in terms of kickoff returns alongside Duvernay if they go too wide. Maybe they could go Tank Bigsby there. But Parker Washington as a punt returner, he'll be the backup to Duvernay, but he's not going to be the starter. And what that means is I expect Parker Washington to have a pretty solid role in the offense in 2024. He did come on very well last season. Didn't do a lot, didn't get a lot of playing time until Christian Kirk went down that Monday night game against the Bengals. And then Parker Washington played pretty well when he got the chances. And it looks like he's going to be getting some opportunities at wide receiver now that he will not be a return man since Devin Duvernay is taking over that spot. Jamal Agnew, I don't know where he's going to wind up. He'll wind up on his feet somewhere. He'll land on his feet somewhere. That won't surprise me at all because he still has something at returner. If he can recover from that injury and the multiple injuries he had in 2023, I'm going to miss him a lot, but it's a move that makes a lot of sense. Devin Duvernay, now a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars, as the Jags try and improve their special teams unit piece by piece. But what are your thoughts on the Devin Duvernay move? Do you think it's a good move? Do you think it's a bad move for the Jaguars? If you're a Ravens fan, do you have any solid memories of him in Baltimore? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that's going to do it for this episode of JG9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, Jaguar9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is Jaguar9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.